Produced by Victoire. Victoire gives a special thanks to the EWF, Empire Wrestling Federation, and Mr. Jesse Hernandez, as well as SoCal Wrestling TV. Find the app on Roku.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Power and Glory, the podcast. You've come to discover the power of truth, and you're in the right spot. I am your co-host, Emir, along with my partner in justice, returning this week, Mr. Paul Roma. There he is right there.
Hey, everybody. Listen, before we get started, Amir, so glad I'm back this week with you and our guests, of course.
Yep.
And you got to hit that subscribe button, baby. You got to powerplex that subscribe button. So do it, people.
That's right. That's right. You heard Paul, and you don't want to mess with this man. So make sure
don't mess with me.
Powerplex that subscribe button, hit the likes, share with your friends and family, because the sooner we get the audience we're looking for, the sooner those super chats come back. Remember that. We've got a special guest. Oh, sorry, Paul, you were going to say?
No, and another thing, Christmas is coming up. I know I celebrate it. I know a lot of our fans celebrate it. And what a great gift to give somebody and say, hey, listen, you know what? You should subscribe to Power and Glory. What a great show these guys put on. And, there you go. And what does it really cost them?
Nothing. Remember, to hit the subscribe button is free. One thing that's not free, though, and it's coming across your screen right now, are the Power and Glory, the podcast t-shirts. They are available for pre-order right now. So if you're interested in some t-shirts, use the email address in the description of this video, and we'll make sure we get everything out to you. But please hurry, because Christmas is right around the corner. Now, on to matters at hand, Paul. Our special guest, Mario, something's off with your camera. We can barely see just the shoulder right now. Mario Mancini is joining us this week, ladies. Oh, there he is. Mario?
Oh, I'm sorry, Amir. Am I out of line?
Way out of line.
Let me get in line.
Oh, wow. Mario, who's that with you?
Well, that's RITA Chatterton. Oh, my God.
Wow.
Oh, my God.
Who would have guessed?
Hey, Amir.
Hey, Rita. How you doing?
Paul.
Hello.
I'm doing great, guys. How are you?
Doing well.
Great. Yep.
Well, now the gang's back together. Wow, Miss Rita Chatterton. We've heard so many things about you, Rita. So many great things from these two gentlemen. I assure you, it's all been good. Just an honor to have you, ladies and gentlemen. The first female referee ever in the mainstream pro wrestling. What was the WWE before the WWE? So Rita, maybe we'll start there, Paul, because I've never had the opportunity to interview a female referee before. Have you?
No,
let alone the first one.
What's that?
Female. The first female wrestler.
First
female referee.
First,
Yeah. Yeah. So you know what? Listen, Amir, this is your day. I think you should take it away. Start hitting it.
All right, let's take it away then. Okay. All right, Rita. So again, quite extraordinary, and especially at that time for a female. Back then, the world was very different, ladies and gentlemen, from what it is today. But I got to start from the beginning then. So what was the nucleus that spawned the interest for you to get into pro wrestling? Let's start there.
That's a good question. Wrestling was never my dream. I didn't want to be. I had no inkling or no interest in wrestling at all.
Yeah.
However, I had a younger brother who wrestling was everything to him. I mean, we used to watch wrestling every Sunday, and I would watch it with the family. And every Sunday he'd say, I'm going to be a wrestler someday. I'm going to be, yeah, sure, a little boy with a dream.
Yep.
Didn't think much of it. And then, unfortunately, at the ripe old age of 18, he was killed in a car accident.
Sorry to hear that.
And the day he was killed, I went into his room, and he had a notepad laying on the bed with all the wrestling schools he had called, all the people he talked to, where he wanted to go, how he wanted to do it, how he was going to pay for it. So that little boy's dream wasn't just a dream. He was working on making it happen.
Yeah.
So after some thought, I decided to do it for him.
Oh, wow.
And that's how I got involved in wrestling.
Yeah.
And after a while, after, training and coming down to Connecticut, I'm from New York and I go to Connecticut every weekend,
Mhm.
400-mile round trip every weekend to train.
Mhm.
It started becoming my dream as well.
Yeah.
And there you go. In 1984, I became the first female referee in the
Mhm.
history of pro wrestling.
Yeah. What an
It was
incredible accomplishment.
crazy.
Yeah, it's a crazy,
It was
incredible
crazy.
accomplishment. But you've obviously got your ring. I mean, you were training to get in the ring as a female competitor, correct? So you
But yes, I originally I wanted to go into wrestling
Mhm.
to become a wrestler.
Right.
Unfortunately, I had major lung surgery,
Mhm.
which stopped me from becoming a wrestler.
Mhm.
And I was in the hospital, laying in the hospital after major surgery. And my dad and it was a Sunday, and wrestling's on television. And I told him, I said, all the dreams that I had for Chris, my younger brother, I said, they're gone now. I can't do this anymore. Physically, I couldn't do it. And then I just looked at him. I said, but I could be a referee.
Yep.
They only get knocked down every now and then. And that's where the idea came from to become a referee.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I called Tony Altamore, which was in my brother's book. And no, I'm not training referees. No, 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 no. Well, as a female, he didn't train me. Well, I drove that man crazy.
Yeah.
And of course, back then in the 80s, you didn't have caller ID and you didn't have
Right.
Tony telephone. Yeah. Hello. Hey, Tony, you training referees? And no, I'm not training referees. Click. It's like I
Uh,
drove that man nuts. I called him 3 or 4 times a week.
yeah. Persistent.
And then uh I had talked to him a few times on the phone and he's like, "Do you ever train? You ever work out?" And I was like, "No, I've never lifted a weight in my life. Never." Well, I don't know if you guys, Paula wasn't there, but do you remember the very first time I showed up at the gym?
I do.
I worked out from 8 o'clock in the morning on weights
Yeah.
until 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
What?
And then we left and went to lunch.
Yeah.
And then I came back and I worked out from like 3:30 in the afternoon till almost 8 o'clock at night, doing the same routine over and over.
What the? Wow.
I'd never lifted a weight in my life. I didn't know what I was supposed to do and not do. So I just did what Tony told me to do.
And that's what you
Tony
tell.
invited me down with the intentions of working me so hard that I would never call him again.
I was gonna say, because you just asked that man at the bottom of the screen, Paul Romer, about training right there. This man's a genius
Right?
when it comes to
Right?
Paul. What do you say about working out 8 hours a day?
Oh my God. Oh my God. I woke up the next
Dig me
morning,
an
guys.
8-foot hole and put me in it.
It's a work.
Yeah. Yeah. I woke up the next morning and my eyelashes hurt.
Yeah.
I had parts of my body I didn't even know I had.
Yeah.
It was
I thought
well,
I thought you were gonna tell everybody that Mario Mancini gave you that workout. And then I said, well, that makes
Oh.
sense.
no,
No, I tried that. So there
he tried.
was a 17-year-old Mario Mancini in a wrestling school where Amir, I'll send you that picture if you don't have it already. You can you can display it on here.
Okay.
So I covered AJ Petrucci for a 2 count, RITA counted 2. And when he kicked out, I pushed up on my hands really hard and I landed right on top of Rita, and she's like, "Yeah, don't ever do that again." And I'm like, "Okay, that wasn't funny." I thought she'd start laughing. Guess what? She didn't start laughing. So I'm like, I knew where I stood right there. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you two formed a quick bond then, Mario and Rita.
Well, you got it's pretty nuts when you think about it because she debuted 5 months after I broke in, 4 months after I broke in.
Mhm.
So we went through it together.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And when you think about it, I met her when I was 17, and I'm sitting in front of you here at the age of 58 years old. So
Yeah.
it's a long time.
The long.
Senator chair.
It's a minute or two, yeah. So
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
if I may interject, Mario, there have been some people that have been making accusations, claims, if you will be, that this relationship doesn't really exist.
That and I failed in my friendship. Listen, whether it was a bad car deal, a fight with her boyfriend, a problem with her kid, a bad hotel room, a bad meal on the road, you know what I mean? Rita would tell me everything. And one day she told me everything. And you know what? That wasn't if I say to you, Amir, don't tell anybody, I'm going to tell you something, don't tell anyone. You know what I mean? You're going to honor, if we have a tight friendship, you're going to honor that. And you're going to say, gee, I wish I could tell somebody, but I can't.
Yes.
And that's truly, whether she said, listen, I got robbed buying this pen. They charged me $30 and said it was the best pen in the world. It's not. Don't tell anybody though, because I don't want everybody to think I'm a sucker. I'm not going to go around going, hey man, you guys, Rita paid $30 for this pen, man. You believe she was stupid enough to pay $30 for it? I'm not going to do that, because she said, listen, I don't want people to think that I got taken for a fool buying this pen. And I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah.
Other people have other ideas of what they think that. Oh,
people, when they don't know, they need to mind their own damn business. Okay. Mario, this man has been my friend. He's been my brother. He's been through everything with me. He's been through my divorce with me. He's been through my raising my kids. He's always been there for me. Always. When I asked him not to keep this to himself, to keep something I had told him to himself, I had my reasons for not wanting that out.
Yeah.
And he respected me. He respected our friendship, and he kept it to himself because I asked him to.
Yeah.
So people need to mind their own damn business when they don't know what they're talking about, and they need to stop shooting their mouth off. And this man is one of my best friends, always has been, always will be. We've been friends for more than 40 years. How many people can you say are your friends for over 40 years?
Here.
I'll tell you. So you know what? If they want something to say, call me.
And let me just extinguish one thought that even one person might have right now. And the answer is no. I never had a relationship with Rita. I've never seen Rita naked. We've never kissed on the lips. That is not. It's always been a brother and sister. Just in case people want to make up more stories.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're friends.
Friends.
I lost my brother, and this man stepped in. This man became my brother. Through the years, became my brother.
Yeah.
Became the brother I lost, became the brother that wanted to be the wrestler, became the brother that was always there for me.
And Amir, just came down to this simple thing. I got a phone call a few years ago and said, hey, will you do this? And I went, yeah. Yeah, of course I will.
Yeah.
And the rest is history. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I didn't say no. I didn't say, are you nuts? I went, yeah, give him my phone number. And
yeah, but Mario,
that's
you know what it is? Here's the thing, okay? People always want to be first. And, they want to be first with their information. They want to be right. So people jump, ahead of the curve, and they don't know what the heck they're talking about. No. And it's been obvious with these two morons that they just want, they got diarrhea of the mouth. They just want to run their mouth. Right. So you know what? Again, that's why this show is so much better than all the other shows, because we don't talk out the side of our mouth.
No.
Well, I go on very few podcasts. I'm on this one because of this issue.
Right. And because of me. Listen, she says no to everything and will do nothing. Nothing. Because there's certain rules in place, but she does nothing. So this is why everything's very general. It's going to stay general.
Yep.
And that's why I brought up the pen.
Mhm.
And she does nothing. She minds her own business. She likes to do her little traveling, with her fiance, and you know, come to one of Rome and I our wrestling show at Paradise Alley every now and then. And we support Gemma. She brought Gemma into the company a few years ago, who's a female manager. And again, Gemma wanted to get into the wrestling business. She was very young at the time, maybe 13 years old.
13.
So, and being Rita Marie Chatterton,
Mhm.
here's Rita Marie Chatterton saying, I'm bringing basically a child
Yeah.
into the wrestling business.
Mhm.
But she turned around and said, she's only going one place. She's going to my brother
That's right.
because I know she's going to be safe there. And with Mario and Roma, I have nothing to worry about. And that's the truth. You know what I mean?
She's safe. I know she's watched.
Right.
I know she's taken care of.
Right. She's watched, she's safe. And we talk to the parents all the time. They'll say, hey, they want her there, they want her there, they want her to go here. And I go, just make sure you watch her. Don't leave her alone. Stay with her.
Yep,
Don't let her out of your sight. They could let her out of their sight at PAPW. But we say don't let her out of your sight. Don't, you know what I mean? We give them advice, the mother and father. So
Yeah.
it still is, again, I'm a sentimental kind of guy. Roman knows that for sure. And it's what I explained on every other podcast when they go, well, why? And I basically, it's what Rita said. I go, I have very few people in my life. I'm fortunate. I need two hands to count them. I am fortunate for that.
Mm-hmm.
Very few that are friends of mine for 40 years or more.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, she's like, I was a senior in high school when I met her.
Yeah. Yeah, a young man back in that.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So if she picks up the phone and says, I need you, the only thing out of my mouth is, what do you need?
When and where?
Yeah, when and where? What do you need?
And
I'd like to bring something up really quick, though. You talked about my bringing Gemma in at 13, and I want to explain why I brought Gemma in at 13, because people have said to me, with your situation, why would you bring a young girl into wrestling? So let me tell you why. Gemma is a straight A student. Gemma is in school. Her regular teacher was out on leave for whatever reason, and they had a substitute teacher. The substitute teacher gave the kids an assignment to write an essay on what they want to be when they grow up, to do the research and write the essay. Gemma writes an essay on wanting to be a wrestling diva. Now, her family has been into watching wrestling since she was born. So she's always wanted to be a wrestler. She turns this in. The teacher says to her the next day, you need to redo this. And she says, why? Wrestling's not a real job.
Hmm.
You need to write about a real job. You need to be a nurse or a teacher, or you need to write about a real job, because a wrestling diva is just not a real job. And Gemma argued with her. She said, I watch them on TV all the time. I know it's a real job. They get paid, they make a paycheck. They go, they had to go to school, they had to do their thing.
Yep.
And the teacher, I said to her, well, you'll take a 0 or you'll redo it. And Gemma said, give me the 0.
Wow.
She said, I've never had a 0 in my life. Give me the 0 because I know it's a real job.
Yeah.
Well, her mom and dad, Gemma, my daughter used to run a daycare. Mm-hmm. And Gemma used to go to my daughter's daycare. And this is how I met Gemma to begin with. So I've known her since she was little and known her parents since she was quite young. When her mom told me this story, my blood pressure hit the ceiling. Mm-hmm. Because I don't feel that any teacher, regardless of whether you agree with it or not, no teacher should be destroying kids' dreams.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
None.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And this is what this woman was trying to do. So I called Mario and I said, this is what's happening. Well, I can tell on the phone that his blood pressure is hitting the ceiling.
In Emir, I turned into Roma and I went, Bring her down.
Bring her down.
Bring her down.
Put her in a festive outfit. And she's got a show in 2 weeks.
I said, got a show in 2 weeks. Put her in sequence.
Put her in her
Yeah.
festive outfit.
Get her.
Bring her down.
Bring her down.
Oh, that looks like you, Paul. That's about right.
And I
That's
said,
about right.
and I said, I go, Rita, we are gonna shove it up this teacher's.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
this was supposed to be a one and done. Let's get her in the ring. Let's get some pictures.
And
Let's
how old
do
is
it,
she
you
now?
know.
17?
She's 16.
16.
She's 16. Her first year was October. Her first show was in October. From October to the end of December, she did 16 shows.
That's pretty darn.
The guys were calling her and she was going here, and she kept calling me. Is it okay? Is it okay? Can I do?
Yeah.
Yes, you can. Just make sure mom is with you. Yes, you can. Just make sure mom stays with you. And she's going strong.
And she'll be there for Mania tomorrow night.
Yeah.
That's right. I was going to say a couple of things that popped to mind there. So, Paul, Mario, do you guys want to tell the audience a little bit about what you guys are doing tomorrow?
Okay, well, I'll start. So tomorrow, the 16th of November, at the JCC in Woodbridge, Connecticut, is our of WrestleMania. So it's called Mania in Paradise. Since our school is called, again, Paradise Alley Professional Wrestling, it only seems fit that that's the route we go. Yeah, we have 10 matches on the card. It will be, everything will be filmed so that all our wrestlers have a copy of it.
I'll be going live on the Paradise Alley website.
Okay, live tomorrow.
Yeah,
live.
So I mean, it's a great. We're gonna have a great show. We have great students, and I'm not just saying that because they're mine. I'm saying it because I've seen, comparatively speaking, a lot of other students that want to come and work for our company, and I'll look at it and say, hey, send me a match or two, and they send me a couple matches, and it's just, it doesn't make sense. And again, I critique them. They're very, glad that I critique them, and they'll usually tell me, you know what, I'm going to work hard. I'm going to try, what you told me to do, and blah blah blah. So, but yeah, tomorrow's a big day for us, and we think it's going to be a packed house.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good one. It's a good accomplishment. 10 matches. That's a big card right there. Usually you see like 6 matches, maybe 5, 6, but 10. That's but yeah, if you want to learn right, Paul sets a high bar. Paul and Mario set a high bar, and that's the way it should be. Because if it's not like that, then you end up getting talent that end up getting figure contracts that sorry if I get some heat, but I don't know.
Well,
I don't think they really.
Well, we then you sit there and you cringe. When you're watching some of the organizations that are on TV, you sit and cringe and say, like, where'd they learn all this mess?
Yeah,
right. It doesn't make any sense. I can't figure out who the bad guy and good guy is. It's just
right.
So it's too confusing.
Yeah.
We eliminate that confusion in our school. Again, we get really granular on how we train our students. We think it's very important that we get granular with them, because we know, Mario and I both know what we went through.
Yeah.
Here's a headlock. Okay, now what?
Yeah.
Why am I doing this? Or why am I staying on the arm? Why am I staying on the head? Why? Why? You always had to ask those questions where we tell them why. We explain to them why. We really break it down for them. And, again, because so many people, Mario says this all the time, these guys want to learn to do a 360 or a 720 off the top rope, and they can't even do a lockup.
Yeah.
And we don't allow that to happen.
Yeah.
That's my famous thing in the wrestling school in there. I let them go about 3-4 months.
Okay.
And they're doing all this crazy stuff. And then I go, okay, lock up, give me a reverse armbar. Yeah. And they're going, and they give a regular armbar. I go, I know, not that, a reverse armbar. And they're like, I go, but you want to jump off the top rope and you want to give super kicks and all this stuff.
Yeah.
you can't even give me a reverse armbar.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we are pretty granular, but you have to remember something too about tomorrow night. If you want to see Brad Baylor, tomorrow night's the night to do it, because I have a feeling the language might have been wrap up what you need to wrap up for 2024, but you cannot take any bookings for 2025. And tomorrow's our last show of the year. And I got a feeling as of January 1st, Brad Baylor's off the independent market because he just signed with the WWE. So if you want to see him, he'll be there tomorrow night.
Big congratulations. And coming back to something that was said earlier there, Rita, about bringing in Gemma to the business. Gemma, correct? Yeah, Gemma.
Yes.
Bringing her in so young. The landscape today is so vastly different from the past. You're talking apples and oranges, especially, Paul and I,
Unbelievable.
make no bones about it. We talk very highly of AEW and Tony Khan. I think he's doing a great job over there. Guys, I sound like Donald Trump now. He's doing great. He's doing
Nothing
great.
wrong with that.
Are you
He's
going
doing a
to
great
bring him
job.
on your staff? Is he coming on our show? Is that why you're doing this?
I think he's going to come on our show sooner or later. Yeah, he does love wrestling. We got to remember that. So
This is true.
he's
This is true.
but like with Tony Khan and that, you just get the impression now that the guys that are running it, they're more personable. They're not. I think it's say back in the day there were a lot of predators in the business.
From what I'm seeing, Tony Khan bases things on talent.
Hmm. Yeah,
He has talent on his shows.
yeah, yeah.
Well,
And
here's the thing. So, AEW here, you've heard in the past with WWF or now WWE. So, there's a big difference there. You could take someone like Gemma, 16 years old, let's even say 18 years old. And, other than the norm, you really don't have to worry about her being safe, right? You don't have to worry about
Tony
predators.
Khan,
No.
not with us.
Exactly
No.
right. So that's the big difference. You know how nice it is to go into your job, sit back, not worry that something is going to transpire, something's going to happen. You don't have to worry about that. At 16 years old or 18 years old, a female could walk into the wrestling world and she doesn't have to worry.
Right.
And that's a great comfort. Even a young kid at 18 years old, a man could walk in, a young man could walk in, and they're going to tell him, all right, we want you to do this. Okay, and it's great. Yeah. There's no, well, I'm not doing that. Well, why aren't you doing that? Well, because that's not right. No, that's not it. You don't hear that about AEW. From inception till now. I've not heard anything of any
negative
sort.
No.
About yeah, exactly right.
No negativity.
Anything like that happening. Correct. No. So he must run a tight ship. He must know everything that's going on because there's nothing going on other than wrestling. And I think that's the way it should be, and it should have always have been.
Well, he also took that stance. Remember, he had an incident. I don't know, Rita, if you remember this, and Mario, when CM Punk got fired, he started some backstage trouble with, I think, Jack Perry, Jungle Boy. And then, Tony just fired him, just canned him. Because he did what he felt was best for the safety of the staff and whatnot. And that was a big star. Now, on the other hand, he could have just said, whatever, he's my biggest star, so I'm not touching him.
He does what's right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
he does what's right.
It's more organic. You get there and you go forward based on your talent and your abilities. Where Roma, Rita, and I will tell you right now, if that was a fight with Savage and it was a less of a guy and Savage was dead wrong in our day, the other guy's gone.
The other guy's gone.
The other guy's gone. Not Savage. Yeah. The other guy's gone. Vince is just not going to let him go.
Yeah.
The moneymakers never went anywhere.
The moneymakers never went anywhere. You know what I mean? And AEW, it is nice. I mean, I had this conversation the other day. They wanted to talk about the female wrestlers back in our day. Well, Well, Lillian Muller beat the hell out of you. You didn't want to go near her, man. She was a tough woman. You know what I mean?
And Scary Sherry.
Oh
And
yeah.
Scary Sherry. You know what I mean? Wendy Richter.
Yeah, Leilani Kai.
Leilani Kai,
Judy Martin.
Judy, these were all very tough women. You know what I mean? Whereas they went into the mid '90s into the Attitude Era, and it was a strip club.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It wasn't like that back then. So they didn't have as much heat. There were more female wrestler athletes. You know, but it is nice the way AEW goes, the way they operate. I mean, you could imagine the stress with a guy um like Cheerio, Paul Roma, Jimmy Powers, Jerry Rotsky. I mean, just sitting in their chair in the dressing room, all of a sudden comes into the entrance of the dressing room to walk through the whole thing, and you got to sit there and go, please don't stop, don't stop, don't stop, and try to pull my pecker. You know what I mean? Like Tony Atlas. Amir, I know you're going to edit that.
Yeah.
So,
I'm not. I'm leaving that right there, Mark.
but Tony Atlas was, he just looked at the camera and said that. In AEW, you don't have to sit there and wonder, is somebody going to fondle me? Is somebody going to say something that's going to really embarrass me or something? Because
it's professional.
Right.
Business. He runs it like a real good, well-oiled business.
Yeah.
WCW, to the best of my knowledge, was very relaxful locker room to be in. You didn't have to worry about who's walking through it, that's going to try and make a move on you and make you uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. So, unless I've missed something, I'm glad I missed it.
What happens from an outside perspective here is when you guys were coming up in the business, a hostile working environment was deliberately created. It was deliberately created, and it kept everybody on their toes, competing against each other. And the boss just kicked back and just the puppeteer, just let you guys have at it, and but it was hostile. That's what was created. Hostile.
Yeah, and when I was in Chicago, I'm not going to bring up any names. Everybody knows this story.
Yeah.
I got into an altercation. I didn't start it. Somebody else did. He punched me in the face twice, and I kept saying to him I didn't want to fight. I figure after the second punch, the dude would realize that he can't hurt me. You need to stop. But I knew in my mind, and I said this too, when I was pulled aside the next day at TV. I was questioned about my fight. And I said, what fight? And he said, well, you got into a fight last night. I said, no, I didn't. And he said, yes, you did. And I said, no. Yeah. And then he mentioned the person's name. And I said, oh, you call me getting punched in the face twice a fight? Then yes, but no, I didn't get in a fight. See, if I didn't throw hands back, so to speak, it's not really considered a fight. And he was dumbfounded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He wanted so bad to, as I call it, write me up.
Yeah.
And what could he do?
Yeah.
I just stood there admitting that I was not in a fight. Yeah, I threw one quick jab that stopped the dude, to make him understand, listen, you're going to get hurt. Just stop. But yeah, it was like they were gunning for me.
Yeah.
Because why? Because he was, he was here.
Mm-hmm.
Here to him, getting the push, and I wasn't. And so, I was protecting my job. That's why I didn't fight him, in the locker room that day, because I knew I would have gotten fired the next day.
Yeah.
I didn't want to get fired.
It's so strange. Rita, I want to kick something back to you because something's on my mind. I've said it before, I was not a fan of the Attitude Era at all. I lost interest with WWE at the time. I switched over to WCW. I didn't like the smash mouth, subjecting women and things like that. But I want to know, from a female's perspective, what did you think when you started seeing them go down that path?
Well, you know what? To be honest with you, I walked away from wrestling for more than 30 years.
Okay.
I didn't watch it. I would flip through it every now and then and see what was going on. And it was like, to me, it was an adult soap opera.
Mhm.
Kids shouldn't have been watching this stuff.
Right.
This wasn't family orientated anymore, and it was a huge change.
Mhm.
And I'm kind of glad to see that things are starting to, you have Tony Khan now, you have other avenues now that it's back to family orientated.
Yeah.
But like I said, I stepped away from wrestling for more than 30 years.
All right.
I wouldn't even come to their school.
All right.
It's like, no, I wanted no part of it.
So when did you start coming back around then to?
I'll tell it. 3 years ago.
Well, when Gemma got involved.
When Gemma got involved was the first year, yes. But 3 years ago, just before that, a friend of mine, Seth Cohen, runs the athletic or the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame in Albany.
Okay.
And he grew up with my daughter.
Seth Cohen.
No, Seth Turner.
Seth Turner. You know who Seth
Oh, when
Cohen?
they say Seth Cohen?
Seth Cohen. We went to
the.
he was we were the original class in the wrestling school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And AJ Patrizzi.
AJ Petrucci and Dave Barbie.
And Dave Barbie.
Right.
Yep.
Hey, Barbara.
But anyway, Seth drove me crazy. He started this Hall of Fame, and he wanted me to come in. They wanted to give me the an award
Trailblazer.
in Trailblazer Award, and I wanted no part of it. I was like, nope, I'm not doing it. I haven't been, I've been away from wrestling for over 30 years. My life is done. I want no part of it.
Yeah.
So he drove me crazy. Then he calls my daughter, who he grew up with, and gets my daughter involved. Now the two of them are driving me crazy. Mom, you got to do it for Seth. He needs your help. He's always every Sunday he was at my house to hear the stories as to what happened at wrestling school. So finally I said, okay, guys, I'll do this one show for you guys, this one event for you guys, and then I'm done. Don't ask me again. I'll do the first one. I'll help you out. I'll do whatever I can for you, but leave me alone. I don't want this. It's over. My life. You know what? My dreams ended a long time ago. I once dreamt of being in the WWF Hall of Fame. That never happened. Okay. I'm in this Hall of Fame now, but anyway, I turn around and I do this event for him. I get the Trailblazer Award, and it's kind of like riding a Harley.
Yeah.
It's in your blood.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it started creeping back into my blood, and I'm like, eh.
Yeah.
Well, a few weeks after that, Seth calls me and says, Rita, there's this guy that is trying to get a hold of you. He wants your phone number. And I said, who's that? And he says, well, his name is Tony Khan. Who the hell's Tony Khan? That doesn't even sound right. He says, no, Rita. He says, you should probably take his call. And I said, why do I want to take his call? He says, well, he owns the Jacksonville Jaguars. Well, why the hell would anyone who owns the Jacksonville Jaguars want my phone number? He says, well, he also owns AEW Wrestling. Okay. Okay, so give him my phone number. So he gives him my number, and I don't hear anything. And a couple of weeks later, I get his phone call, and I look, and I'll call the number. Then I got thinking about it. I said, let me call that number back. So I call it back. It's Tony Khan. So Tony Khan and I had a nice long talk, and I was under contract with him for a year. Very nice man, very gentleman, very, very nice man. And that's how I ended up getting back involved in wrestling.
Wow.
So it was just a crazy story.
What a comeback story. May I ask, what were you doing in AEW for that year?
You know what? I was under contract with him for a year, and I did absolutely nothing.
Oh.
I did absolutely nothing. But he wanted me under contract, so I was under contract with him, and
so she gets a hold of me. She goes, listen, it says talent scout, and I'm like, all right, Reed, I'm gonna throw as many people at you as I can.
Yeah.
I said, I'm just gonna throw as many people at you as I can. And every now and then I'd go, what are you doing? And she's like, yeah, I'm just kind of like sitting home.
Just sitting here waiting.
And she went, he'd go to a couple football games though, because he owns the Jaguars.
Jaguars.
Yeah,
some tickets, and in fact, I just went to a couple of weeks ago. I went to a Jaguars game.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
very, very interesting. So now you can say, yeah, you've had that AEW contract as well. That's incredible.
Right, right.
Right.
Another feather in your cap there. But yeah, Paul, were you going to say something? I saw you motioning.
No, oh no. I find this all interesting. You know, I mean,
Yeah,
it's good talk. It's real
yeah.
good talk.
Yeah, it's
But
crazy.
but Rita, so I've got to ask, the 30-year absence from pro wrestling altogether, where did your
Mhm.
life take you? What ventures did you go into?
Um, well, I went to work with children. I became a youth care counselor,
Okay.
and I worked with wayward kids and mentally challenged children, and had a very enjoyable life there.
Yeah, I was going to say it must
Yeah.
be very, very rewarding.
Kind of
Well, I
like
worked.
you didn't get that far away from wrestling then.
No, not really.
Mm.
It's funny because it's funny that you say that because in reality, I did a whole lot of takedowns and pulling kids out of fights and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
It was crazy. It was
But,
crazy.
but now you're firmly back into it. So how much involvement have you got at this day, today, Rita? What are you doing
As
now?
of today, I'm retired from everything. Still go to matches, go to, these guys' matches once in a while. I'll be there tomorrow night, supporting them. I support Gemma big time. Gemma works with these guys, and then she's working with a company in Albany called Dynasty, which is a great company. They've done well. But I like I said, I'm retired. I do a lot of traveling now
Yeah.
and just kick back and enjoy what's left.
Yeah.
I don't
No,
know how many years are left, I'm not getting any younger.
And she
hopefully.
does none of this at
No, I
all.
don't.
At
I
all.
don't.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, it's a
I don't.
privilege. It's a privilege for us to have you on here, Rita.
It's
I hope
just
I hope you'll consider this a destination hotspot for you in the future as well to come back on our shows and get involved in our conversations with what we got going on here.
mhm.
We're doing this
Okay.
like
Well, we'll definitely
yeah.
definitely give it some thought because, like I said, I mean, I'm on here today for Mario because I heard all the bad mouthing that was going on, and and when people, it just aggravates me. It aggravates me. Why do people shooting their mouth off? They have no idea what they're talking about.
So
Well,
we wanted to take the Roma route. And let me tell you what the Roma route is.
yeah,
The only route Roma takes is the truth.
yeah,
That's right.
that's it.
That's right.
That's it.
That's what it's all about, Paul, isn't it? The power of truth. That's
That's
why.
it.
Absolutely.
It's what a lot of people can't handle though.
Yeah, they can't handle it. And that's what Paul, I like what you said earlier. A lot of the other podcasts, Rita, and I'm not, like I said, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. It's not my intention. If it does, well, that's something you're going to have to check in yourself. But the
There you
reality
go.
is the internet has been loitered with confusion, with lies, with
Mhm.
exaggerations, manipulation, and flat out trash, as far as I'm concerned,
Mhm.
as far as Paul and I were concerned. And so we are here for our viewers to deliver them entertaining content, informative content, and giving them food, like I said, food for thought, but the truth. As much as
True.
we can shed that
Always.
light on that truth, because that's the key.
Mir, it's like it's like the Guardian of Chaos Big Daddy always yells at me because and when I did these idiots podcasts, I was the same guy. I'm the same guy all the time. And even Roma gets on me about it. I really don't consider myself much, but counting every light on every ceiling in every arena around the country, I really don't think I'm much. You know what I mean? But I think for once, I'm going to say there's something to be said. I got a very surprising phone call this week to be a guest on a pretty large show. Rome and I just got done wrapping up a very large documentary for HBO Max. And I'm sitting, you got to understand the way I feel and the way I think. This is, you know, when I look at Rome, I look at the guy I used to, meet on Federal Street, you know what I mean, while he's getting his stuff ready and everything. It's just, Known as dad and everything. He's just my friend. But to the community, I understand he's Paul Roma, and I'm Mario Mancini, and she is Rita Chatterton. You're welcome to go on YouTube and look up Roma. You'll spend a couple hours watching that. You're more than welcome to go on YouTube and look me up and watch my matches. You'll be spending a couple hours on that. You're welcome to go on YouTube and type in Rita Marie Chatterton. You'll be spending a couple hours on that too. So I think what I'm trying to say is, if you're going to do something like this, you don't only need the truth and credibility. You need people that are credible, that were there, that people can identify with and say, oh yeah, that is Mario. I used to eat my Cocoa Puffs and watch King Kong Bundy beat the hell out of him, And oh, there's Roma. Remember that drop kick? And oh, that's Rita Marie. She was the first female referee ever. So you got to bring some credibility to the table in order to make this work. On top of the truth, there's got to be, and I'm very proud that all of us are sitting here right now, and we all bring that credibility to Power and Glory. We bring that credibility to Hey Roma. And the reason why I say that is because no matter what you say, what you want to say, what you said, what you think you're going to say or do, you can't take that history away from me. Right. You can't take it away from Roma, and you can't take it away from Rita. It's there. It's etched in history. It's there, and nobody can erase it. No one. Right. And sometimes people get angry about that. They get angry about that because, as Strongbow said to me when I said in '89, when I go, I'm sick of this, I quit. I'm done. I'm tired of this, Chief. I paid my dues. Where's my push? This is wrong what they're doing to me. I did everything they wanted me to do. This is wrong. And he just simply looked at me and said, you can quit. Millions of guys want to take your place, Mancini. They'd be more than happy to. And that stopped me right out of it. Yeah. And I said, you're right, Chief. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So I consider myself a very lucky person and very fortunate to, even at the level I was at, which was an extremely low level. I don't think I've said it on this podcast yet. I've said it on every single podcast that I've ever done. I was on the low end of the wrestling food chain. Okay,
but Mario, again, I always want to stand up for you, my brother. Even though you say that in terms of that pecking order there, you competed in one of the most grueling locker rooms in the history of professional wrestling, as we talked about today, most cutthroat.
Yeah.
Involved in the biggest boom that wrestling has ever seen. It will never be again.
Right.
So I would not talk so disparagingly about what you did, because like I said, most guys would have, I'm not going to use the word KILL, but because we may get hit for that. I don't know. But guys would tread over each other and push each other out of the way, hit each other, and do whatever they had to do to get that spot. That was a sought after. Paul, you're saying,
and not just that. I mean, what he's not taking into account is that he had to have been good enough because he broke in all the top names.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Undertaker and Bundy and
all of those guys. Yeah.
That's right. They look, the reason we were jobbers, or enhancement as they call them now, or whatever the case. Maybe they got a new name. You were there for a reason. You had to make that guy that was here look like he was here.
Yeah.
That he was that
you
much
had to make
better
him there.
than you. Yeah. Right.
You were the ketchup on a lot of French fries, my dear. You were definitely the ketchup on a lot of French fries.
It's funny.
I think he ate a lot of French fries too. But
that was the problem too. I ate a lot of French fries. Yeah. But you know what? I always tell Rita the story. I must have told her a million times, and I'll always tell her again. Some of the greatest times I've had. I always say, like, when I was in front of 8,000 people, even though he made me puke, when I was in front of 8,000 people in the New Haven Coliseum, and I'm looking across the ring, and I'm working with Roma.
Yeah.
You know what? There's nothing better in professional wrestling ever to be in the ring with one of the closest people, and you're like, oh, this is so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the same thing. And I'm like, oh man, Rita's refereeing my match. And I remember,
So scared.
I'll listen. I tell the story all the time after I get done doing my job.
Yeah.
Now you had to stay down while the guy that was over, he's long gone.
Yeah.
You're still down.
Yeah.
And Rita would come because you can't see.
Yeah.
Joey Morella used to do the same thing to me. I'd be selling on the canvas and he would morph his face into Steve Lombardi. And I'd have to go like this, like I'm selling, but I'm laughing. And Rita would do the same thing, and she would look down, and the fans and everybody watching on TV thinking, well, she's making sure the guy's okay. And she's like, oh my, and she's going like this to me. I'm going, oh my God. She's going, my gosh, Lenny, are you okay? And I'm like, you Lenny? My God, Lenny, are you okay? I'm like, relax. Are you? I'm like,
So
I'm like,
he scared the hell out of me.
I'm fine, I'm fine. And I'm like, oh, and you know, I go back out there again. Oh, Rita's referencing this match again, man. I don't, you know.
Yeah.
So you know, there's so many fond memories and everything, and I think although I didn't retaliate, we didn't retaliate. I'm not going to give them that satisfaction and put them on the map. You know, I think what got me the angriest wasn't the allegation itself, but they're messing with people that are you know, have a history in my life that make up a part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
These people make up a part of my life.
Yeah.
And you're messing with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're messing with that.
Yeah.
You know, that's what really got me. That's what really got me angry.
Listen, they have nothing else. They have nothing else.
But the thing is, Roman, what now? Like, you know what happened? I'm gonna tell you what happened. Wait a minute. Let me test my last IQ test. Oh, okay, good. It's 6. This is what happened. Rita came. He must have stuck her with some sort of substance he had in a needle and sat her next to him, kind of like Weekend at Bernie's, and made her say all this stuff. Was that even Rita Marie Chatterton sitting next to him?
Probably your double.
Yeah.
You know,
probably your double.
Yeah.
Listen.
Is it a puppet?
Yeah.
Listen, and I'll take it. I'll take it. And you know what? I'm big on forgiveness. Be a man. Be a man.
Yeah.
There are so many people in my life that taught me, number one, my dad. All right. Number two, the other guy on the other end of the screen. You know what I mean? With his philosophies since I was 18 years old. And, you know, be a man. Get in contact with me and go, Mario, we're sorry. And I go, you know what? You're forgiven. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a problem. No hard feelings. Be a man and just say, listen, we're sorry.
Listen, that's what a real man does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what a real man does.
I'll tell you something. You want to hear a real
Don't
man?
wait too long.
Yeah. Go ahead, Rita.
Bret the Hitman Hart apologized to me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Bret the Hitman Hart many years ago, back in the 90s, went on national television and called me all kinds of names, and it was horrible. It was horrible. About a year and a half ago, I seen him at a con, and he apologized to me.
Oh,
that's a real man. I walked up to him and I just said to him, I said, well, I have one question for you, Bret. And he looked at me, and it's the first time I had seen him. And he said, what's that? I said, why? And he looked at me. I said, you don't know who I am, do you? And he says, no, I'm sorry, I don't. I said, I'm Rita Marie. And he looked at me and he said, oh my God. He said, Rita, my wife and I just talked about you a few months ago. And I owe you an apology. And the man apologized to me.
That's good.
That's a real man. And I forgave him.
Yeah.
At 30 years I held him.
I was there. I saw him hug.
So
30 years I held that. I
That's-
held that in.
Yeah.
It's a long
Because,
time.
like I said, he called me a skank, and
mm,
called me a liar, called me a skank, called me all kinds of names,
mhm.
Well,
and
everybody stuck up for
apologized.
the devil, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna
But
say
he apologized, and
I was gonna
can't
say
ask for more than that.
I was going to say, Reed, it's amazing, but looking at the gentleman on my screen and myself included, you're not going to find that with us. I think it's sad how some people will just bend the knee to whatever, the status quo wants or, to appease somebody else, even if it goes completely against their morals and values. But I think that comes back to, Paul and Mario, what we talk about all the time, especially you, Mario, you hit on it the last couple of times about our faith in God. Without that, you're wayward, you're lost, you're done. So, there's no, I mean, I'm not saying everybody who's like that, who doesn't believe, doesn't have any moral strength or values, because that's not true. It's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying it makes it easier for the person to justify, well, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. That's very admirable that you did that, Rita, though, because like I've often thought about that myself. And Mara, you brought up forgiveness because I often talk about this with my wife. I say I can forgive somebody, but let's just say that person's been constantly doing me wrong. Even though I've forgiven them, do I allow them back into my inner circle? I opt for no. I say, okay, well, I forgive you, fine,
Oh
but
yeah, sure.
yeah. So I
It
mean, how do
depends.
yeah.
It depends. It's like I had a conversation with Bret Hart.
Mhm.
And would I allow him back into my circle? Yes, I would, because of the conversation we had. He
Okay.
was also young. He was also making a ton of money. And he did what he did for his reasons. And he told me his reasons. And we had a nice long conversation with him.
Mhm.
And yes, I would give him another shot. Would I trust him completely? No, I'll never trust anybody like that completely again.
Mhm.
But I would let him back in my circle.
Okay, that's
But it depends
interesting.
on the situation.
Uh,
It depends on the people. It
Yeah.
depends.
Yeah.
I said, because I can forgive, but I can't always forget.
I do have to say
Oh,
he's a stand-up guy at least.
yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I mean, Brett?
yeah.
He's always been that way.
Yeah, yeah. Paul, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I think that's a great question to throw out to our fans, our people.
Okay.
I think it's a great question. What would they do?
Mhm.
Maybe we get a nice rolling number on this.
Okay.
Who would,
Yeah.
allow somebody back in, or, me personally, you can forgive,
Hmm.
but I don't think you can ever forget.
Hmm.
And I think that's a key right there, right? So, let's just say something happened with me and Mario, and okay, I forgive him, but can I forget that he did that? You know what I mean? If it was really bad, obviously,
Hmm.
we're talking,
See,
Yeah.
I think it depends on what it was and what his reasons were.
Yeah.
Well, and I
Because
and
people
I I
always have
I
reasons for doing what they do. You
Hmm.
yeah,
know,
but again, here's a reason. A reason is their excuse for doing it.
hmm
That's what a
Well,
reason is.
I think in all fairness to the fans watching this, and we're very thankful to the fans that are growing every week watching
Yeah.
Power and Glory,
Yeah.
because it is growing by leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
Um, just a little, just because right now I see a comment going, well, I can't tell you whether I'd forgive or not because I don't know what you guys were talking about.
Right. Right.
yeah.
So let me do a hypothetical a hypothetical. So Roma Roma tells me something in confidence and says, "Don't tell anybody." But he's been really wrong. He's been really wrong, like as wrong as you can be
Mhm.
by this other person. But he says to me, "Don't say anything to anybody," and I don't. And 30 years goes by, and Roma goes, "Hey man, you remember that thing?" And I go, "Yeah." He goes, I want to talk about it now. And I want you to talk about it now. And I go, "Okay, all right." And I start talking about it. And then two guys trying their best to make a mark in the same market that we're in goes, "Oh, That's great. Mario's standing up for Roma now. Why didn't he stand up for him 30 years ago? How come he didn't do the right thing by his friend? How come he didn't do this? How come he didn't do that? How come, you know what? Mario Mancini's not a good guy. Mario Mancini's a fraud. Mario Mancini's a bad person. How can he do this to Roma? How can he do this to Paul Roma? That's his friend. I wouldn't want a friend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm forwarding this to Roma, and he's going, well, what are they talking about? And I'm like, hey, listen, I know we're talking about, what happened to you 30 years ago, Roma. We're talking about it now, but I'm kind of getting chastised because there's knowledge that you told me about that incident that happened to you 30 years ago, and I didn't say anything. And he turns around and goes, I told you not to say anything. I'm like, yeah, well, you know that, and I know that.
But the world doesn't.
But the world doesn't know that. So I'm getting attacked for it now. So now Roma and I go on a podcast and we explain this. And the people that were chastising are simply saying, be men and say you're sorry.
Yeah.
Just be men and say you're sorry because you were wrong.
But the irony is these other individuals were asking you to apologize in a situation they have no reason to be involved in.
Right. So the question to the fans are, even if they do apologize, do I forgive them? And my answer is yes. And it's a very simple philosophy. I truly believe in the rewind. I really do. I do believe in the rewind. And I don't want to be in front of my maker and going, I need forgiveness. And they go, well, let's go back to November 21st, 2024. You would give no forgiveness. And now you're asking us to forgive you. That's not me. So when Christ freely gives you forgiveness, if you really mean it in your heart, let's make that straight. There's no such thing as premeditated forgiveness. Like, I'm going to do this dastardly thing anyway because Jesus is going to forgive me. No, it doesn't work that way. So you honestly, in your heart, you're sorry, you're going to get forgiveness. So if somebody honestly apologizes to me, of course I'm going to say, yeah, I forgive you. And you know what? Because if they rewind, they started it out, Emir, with this.
Yeah.
A lot of people aren't going to be happy about this because this guy's well liked in the wrestling. So let's cut him up.
Yeah. Well, it's but sometimes, the truth will set you free. It's there in scripture. And it truly, it does. And that's the key right there. We are setting the truth here. We never set out to condemn anybody. We never have on this podcast. We've reacted to things where people have attacked. Remember, Paul, when we first started out, I'm not going to mention his name now, but another podcast attacked you and started belittling you and your character for no reason. There's no justification for it. We're never gonna demonize or condemn anybody here. If somebody chooses to involve themselves in our narrative, yes, you're going to get pulled into our narrative. We're not going to acknowledge your name, but we will acknowledge what you're doing, and we will set that straight.
You know what kills me about Roma, though? The people that do that. Do you know what makes me laugh the hardest? And when I say laugh hard, I mean really hard.
Yeah.
If they ever came face to face with him, they'd be like, "Hey, Paul, how you doing?
Yeah.
How are you? So nice to see you."
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
I'm a nice guy. What do you mean?
Paul, I'm sure. Yes. I'm sure when we get to Las Vegas, by the way, everybody, Las Vegas WrestleCon 2025, punch your tickets. This entire team will be there, including Jim Powers. So make sure you show up. But I'm sure that there are going to be a lot of knees hitting each other in the lines when they come up to see you, Paul, on that day. There's going to be a lot of people trembling.
Listen, I'm not that guy of 25 years ago. I'm older now. Give me a lot of trouble.
Nah, but seriously, but I think it's again, Paul, It's not that you were this or that. It's just you're real. And real always terrifies people who are fake. And that's the
Right.
reality of it, you know?
That's why I had what's considered heat in the locker room.
Mhm.
People didn't the wrestlers didn't understand
Yeah.
um, who I was. You know, I didn't fake it to make it.
Mhm.
You know, and I saw a lot of guys puppying down to some of what I would consider the higher ups, right?
Yeah.
The guys that are on top. And I just sat back and like, yeah, they don't respect that. What are you doing?
Right.
Why are you puppying down to these guys? I
Yeah.
mean, you're disrespecting yourself,
Yeah.
if nothing else.
Yeah.
So, I wasn't, I wouldn't bring myself to do anything like that.
Mhm.
I had a lot of respect for plenty of wrestlers, whether, Mario would say a jobber or somebody on top, didn't
Mhm.
matter.
Mhm.
To me, it was the person, the individual
Mhm.
that gained my respect.
Yeah.
That's what it was, for me.
Yeah.
It didn't matter where you were on the food chain.
Yeah. And back to that word there. Again, I don't know what to use here. Worker, jobber, enhancement talent, whatever you want to name it. I think I still say that worked because nowadays, whenever you switch on a Raw, whatever episode it is you watch of wrestling today, you're seeing a pay-per-view match every time you turn on the TV. So what's a pay-per-view anymore? I remember that line, Mario, years ago, and Paul, I saw this movie, I think it was an Eddie Murphy movie, and he's playing this vampire or something. And he plays this character, he switches into this other character, and he says, if every day is a sunny day, what's a sunny day? Right. And I
Right.
never forget. And it's the same thing with wrestling. If I'm watching, I don't know, Drew McIntyre against CM Punk on Monday Night Raw, then on SmackDown, why am I supposed to buy it any different at WrestleMania? There's no sense to it anymore.
Mhm.
When you get
Right.
when you had the other when you like I said the enhancement talent that made you guys look better and sharper, and then you built up the story for 3 4 months going into WrestleMania, SummerSlam. Then it felt like a spectacle. It was a main event, you know.
Yeah.
Right. And they told a story. It's like I went running up to Chris before WrestleMania 3 and I said, "It's you and me." And Strongbow was right behind me and he goes, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, well, yeah, Mr. Mancini, we need a stretcher." And I looked at Bundy and I went, "Oh, I'm doing a stretcher." I go, "You want to do one avalanche and two splashes, or you want to do two avalanches, what do you want to do?"
Yeah.
And so I he did two avalanches, and but that was you're absolutely right, Amir. That was the last TV taping people would see before WrestleMania 3. And what did Bundy do? When I was out cold and he was looking down, he said, "That's what's going to happen to any midget that gets in my way." Now I apologize.
Right.
I apologize for a term. It was a 87 term. And if I were to redo that promo today, or Chris would, he would say, "That's what's going to happen to any little person that's going to get in my way." So
Right.
I just want to make that clear.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so he had a point in doing that because the psychology was, well, Mario Mancini's a regular sized guy. So he's tag teaming with a little person against Hillbilly Jim and another little person. Well, if Bundy ends up in the ring with him, he might kill him because look what he did to Mancini,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
You're right. That's not there anymore.
No,
No.
it's not.
It's not there.
But these guys, the wrestlers today don't understand how easy in some terms they have it because they work a couple of days a week.
Yeah.
These guys work 7 days a week nonstop 24 hours a day, 7 days a week forever before they got a day off.
Twice on Sundays.
You know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Saturday.
In a
And
year,
Saturday.
125 matches. How's that possible? It was
Yeah.
possible. It was happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what they did every single day. Your whole life it consisted of hotels, airports, arenas, trying to find someplace to wash out your underwear, for Christ's sakes, trying to get to a gym when you can find one.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
And I'm still trying
It
to
was a
figure.
hard life.
And
It wasn't,
I'm still trying to figure out how Roma didn't go through a McDonald's drive-through one time.
yeah, right?
Trying to
Right?
figure that out.
Yeah, where did you
No,
find to eat, Roma?
Roma brought his own food. He had the food in his bag. He had
Yeah.
tuna fish and
He
applesauce.
was,
Oh,
he was telling us, Rita, he got a health scare because he was consuming way too much protein at one time. Where was that,
Yeah.
Paul?
oh my God.
Yeah,
It
where
was
was I?
crazy.
It may have been Detroit. I'm not sure, but yeah, I was consuming close to 2 pounds of chocolate protein a day, and so I went in to see the doctor because I had like pimples on me, and I never broke out. And Hercules walks in, and I said, "Doc, look," I said, "Well, what's going on?" And Hercules walks in and goes, "Hey, he's eating 2 pounds of chocolate protein a day." And the doctor looked at me and goes, "Really?" I went, "Well, almost about that much." He goes, "Well, that's what's making you break out, the chocolate." And I went, "Oh, okay." So I just cut it back and it all went away. But
Yeah.
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 Switch to
I
vanilla,
was very
right?
strict. No, no, no.
Yeah.
I was just really strict. It was called Metalabol or Bolo, something like that. God, that stuff was so good.
Yeah.
My Lord, it was the best on the market.
The
Yeah.
thing what
Yeah.
Roma is when you're famished and you're like ready to eat your fingers, you'll grab anything in front of you, right? Roma would just go, I'm not gonna eat
Yeah.
because there's nothing for me to eat. I'm not eating. And I can't do that.
Well, I actually get to hear that myself, Mario, because I'm the same. So when I'm with my wife somewhere and I can't find, so I'm with you on that, Paul. If I can't find, I'm not eating. I'm hungry, but no, I'm not touching that. I'll wait till I can find the clean protein.
That's
Wow.
it. Bring the protein bars, bring the protein shakes, do
Yeah.
whatever you got to do.
Yeah.
I had one big monster duffel bag just filled with all kinds of protein and amino acids, you name it.
Yeah.
It was just part of it.
Paul was ahead of his time, Rita and Mario. And by the way, so we've been requested, a fan has requested that we do a special where Paul, Jimmy, Rico, they just want a special totally on nutrition, working out, bodybuilding, because they know.
I'd like to thank that fan for giving me the day off on this podcast.
No, Mario. No, you're
That's
going to
not
be there.
true.
No, you're going to be there, Mario.
I'm going to be there. This is me on this podcast.
Eat a hamburger.
No, you're there to learn, Mario, to observe and to learn.
Okay. All right, I'll do that.
So, just a quick round here. I just want to know, Rita, what are your hopes and aspirations for pro wrestling for the next 5 to 10 years?
For the next 5 to 10 years, I'd like to see some of the wrestling cleanup, which seems to be happening. I'd like to see Gemma make it. Gemma's my girl, and I'm telling you, that girl's got talent. She's going to make it. I would love to see my men here and Paradise Alley. Come see Paradise Alley. Come out, get out of California. Come on up Connecticut.
Oh yeah.
Come visit.
Oh yeah. Oh
He's
no,
on the next plane.
I'm on the next plane. No, we may come up there. I may bring some special guests with me. But
That'd be
that's all
awesome.
I'll say. That's all I'll say
That'd be
about
awesome.
that one. But yeah, we'll see. But and then Mario, what are your thoughts? What would you see for the next 5 years?
I want to see wrestlers make it on talent, their bodies, their talent, their ability to work in the business. I would like Tony Khan to wake up one morning, and this is a dream of mine.
Hmm.
I would like Tony Khan to wake up one morning and say, you know what? I think I got his number somewhere. I'm going to call Roma and give him 15 minutes because I promise him if he called Roma and gave him 15 minutes, his product would multiply 1,000 times.
Wow.
Multiply 1,000 times.
Yeah.
I've been embarrassed at my own wrestling shows. I've been embarrassed at my own wrestling shows because I don't ask. I only know of one match tomorrow night, and that's only because of a conversation today. That's a lie. Two matches. I know of two matches of who's going over tomorrow. I have no idea who's going over the other 8 matches. I have no clue. And I've been sitting there watching my own product in such a twist in a match where Roma gets a kick out of it because I wear my heart on my sleeve. So I'll literally be like this.
Yeah.
And I'll look over at Roma and his hands will be on his knees laughing because he knows he got me. He got me good because I didn't see it coming. I didn't see it coming. I didn't think that way or have that kind of psychology for that match, but he did.
Yeah.
And that's the talent that he has. And you know what? It still works today. It still works today. If anybody just listened, it still works today. And it's like you're not if Tony Khan gave Paul Roma 15 minutes, he's not getting Paul Roma. He's getting Harry Fuji. He's getting Pat Patterson, as genius as he was in the wrestling business and as bad as his moral character was. You know, he's getting Gorilla Monsoon. He's getting Chief J Strongbow. He's getting all these guys that taught us wrestling psychology. The only thing I'll always say is the thing with Roma is if I had 500 matches, he had 5,000.
Yeah.
So what's that mean? That means more experience, right? That means, and the guys that he worked with, like Brett, and like one of my most favorite matches watching on YouTube, I came across it a couple of years ago. I didn't know existed. Roma was one-on-one with Bret Hart. And Brett throws Roma in the corner, in the buckle, and he just collapses. He collapses and he grabs his knee. Now, if Roma just walked over to him, it wouldn't have worked, which is what I tried to do in Canada, but they screwed that match up. But Roma came out of the corner and his eyes bugged out, looking at Brett holding his knee. And then he looked up the crowd and looked back and forth, saying, "What? I got him now. He's hurt. I got him now." And he looks down and he spreads his arms out like he's a vulture ready to pick his bones. And he leans over to do it, and Brett just wraps him in a small package. Right? So he was playing possum, right?
Yeah.
Brilliant psychology.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's only one match. And Roma worked with all those guys like that. You know what I mean? So you're talking about a wealth of knowledge. I got so frustrated. I called over to AW and said, "Hey, can you tell Tony Khan to call Roma back?" You know what I mean? That's what I hope. Other than that, I hope listen, here's a story for you. So this is very sweet, by the way. This is a great story. So Baylor comes to the wrestling school, and his dad comes, and I meet his dad. And his dad's just staring at me. And I'm like, "How you doing?" Because I'm Greg's dad. He goes, "Listen, when I was like 11, 12 years old, my dad would take me to the Poughkeepsie Mid-Hudson Civic Center every TV taping. And I watched you and Roma growing up for those years. He took me to every one. And I can't believe my kid's here now. And I'm looking at both of you in the face. It's kind of blowing my mind."
Yeah.
So now Baylor signs with the WWE. I got a hold of his dad and I said, "Listen, first Hartford Civic Center show or Bridgeport Arena show that he's in, I'm coming with, I don't do this. I'm breaking my rule. I don't go to wrestling matches. I'm going with you
Mhm.
and I'm going to sit next to you.
Yeah.
I go, so the guy that you came to watch as a child is now sitting next to you,
Watching your child.
watching your child.
Wow. Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
And he's like, wow. He's
Yeah.
like, wow.
That's a cool.
So yeah, so I would like to see Baylor make it. You know what? I would like to see a lot of my guys make it. There or in AEW. Um, you know, I teach these guys how to bump. And if you can picture a just, a glob of clay that has some thumbprints in them,
Mhm.
and it has some sort of shape, but you really can't recognize it. That's what leaves my classes Monday and Tuesday. And then when they go to Rome on Wednesday and Saturday, he just sculpts them into perfection.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I would like to see these guys go far based on their talent. And I would like the wrestling business to get, a better reputation. I think after all of these documentaries, even though Rome and I were just involved in a very serious documentary, I would like a documentary down a couple of years down the road, a few years down the road, on how the wrestling business has changed and
Mhm.
how good it is now
Mhm.
politically, in the dressing room, behind the scenes, how great it is now, how great of a business it is now, how clean and honorable of a business it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd love to see that.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, and then and I agree with you as well. Paul and I have talked often about AEW, and I think Paul, with his psychology, like you were describing there, that's something that's been, I don't say it's missing entirely, but there are huge gaps in a lot of the guys now where they're not spending time. They're just going up, like you said, to the top turnbuckle, flying, flipping around. This is not gymnastics. This is
Yeah, no.
storytelling and pro wrestling. So I think that's much needed, a return of that conviction of character. I talk a lot about this. Coincidentally, because we may get them to come on here next week, I've got a bone to pick with two AEW guys. Okay. I'm sure I've told you, both you gentlemen, MXM with our friend Rico Constantino. So I'm bringing them on next week. I'm going to grill them on our other show. I want to get inside their minds. I want to know what the heck makes them tick, because I'm going to be very blunt with them. These guys have got the spotlight. At the end of the day, do I think they deserve it? Quite frankly, no.
Oh,
That's
do
just
you
my
really want to cause that much trouble on a show?
listen, Mario. Okay, my buttons have been pushed by Rico.
Okay.
Rico's
Okay.
Rico's our friend. Rico is our friend. He got
Okay.
really into this in AEW, and I need to set the record straight with these guys.
Okay. All right.
All right, listen, and I just want to go out right now, well, there's two things I want to touch on. I'll go to the second one and come back to the first one,
Okay.
which was the question that was asked to you, Mario.
Yeah.
Don't get me involved because I don't feel like getting beat up. Okay, now let's get to the first question. First question was, about doing something different. What would I change in wrestling today? I would go back to where you have enhancement talent, jobbers, and you have your so-called upper tier wrestlers. And I would start building my own base line and my own angles using that. That's gone now. But it's been gone so long. If you bring it back, and I hope Tony's listening to this, if you bring it back, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
They will come, and they will love it, because they're going to get to see so many wrestlers, go out there and do their thing. And that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to go out there and do their thing, not go out there and have a heart pounding match, going tooth and nail with the other guy or with your opponent. No, he's to go out there mop up the mat with this guy and get ready for his super match coming up.
Yeah.
That's what that's what they're missing now.
Mhm.
Everybody's seeing matches. I mean, it's old. It's
Yeah.
old already, and it's only been a couple of years, and it's old already.
Yeah.
So again, that's where I stand. And
Yeah.
like I said, Amir, don't you bring those guys on and get me in trouble.
Listen. I like I said, yeah, Rico's already been on my case about this, but like I said, I've been in communication with these guys. They've given me the thumbs up, so they're going to come on. I don't think they know what they're walking into, but I'm ready to dish it out. I'm old school.
Well,
I'm learning from you, Paul. So I'm not
yes.
going to pull any punches when they come on, but
You got to knock them out.
I will. Trust me. Uh, so, but Rita, it has been an
Yes.
absolute honor, an absolute privilege to host you on here. Very rare appearances that you do make. Thank you so much for taking the time, for trusting us here at Power and Glory, the podcast. Greatly
Well,
appreciate it.
thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you helping us clear the air with this
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on.
you got to do what's right,
Yeah,
I don't think Mancini because I can't get rid of him.
yeah.
Hey, listen,
On
I am so lucky. I'm so lucky Roma loves me because you know what? It was so scary this morning when I looked on my phone and he said, listen, the payroll and the tickets, they're on the table in your bedroom. And then I looked at the foot of my bed and I looked and I went, I didn't even hear him come in. I mean, could have just smashed my head into the bed and I would have been done. I didn't even hear him come in.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh my God.
And that's not an invitation for others, just
so
Right.
Thank God it wasn't Pat Patterson. No, it isn't.
Yeah.
May you rest in peace, Pat.
Yeah. Paul, do you want to lead us out? Any last words?
Make sure that nobody forgot to press that subscribe button.
That's right. Press that subscribe button. Hit the like. Share with your friends and family. Pick yourself up a t-shirt, a Power and Glory t-shirt before Christmas. If you don't get it before Christmas, they'll be available at our booth at WrestleCon 2025. But until next week, ladies and gentlemen, when Hey Roma will return next week. We had a hiatus this week because Paul and Mario were filming this week. They were doing the documentary. But Hey Roma and Power and Glory will be back next week in full force. But until then, everybody, keep chasing the power of truth because there's nothing like it. And we thank you so much. We thank every one of our viewers, all of our fans. God bless you. God bless America. Thank you.
God bless
God
America.
bless. Yeah.
Thank you.